Ready? Gosh, we have girls and boys. What's up with that? I know. Good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to see all of you in person for a change. So I want to welcome you to Dallas College Brookhaven campus. I'm Linda Brady. I'm the president here. And so I'm honored to also welcome our candidates, board candidates. And so we're thrilled to be hosting the second one of these candidate forums. It is presented by, do we have? Okay, so it's presented by the Dallas College Faculty Association and the Dallas College Retirees Association. So our Retirees Association works with our college administration to promote social activities and friendships among other retirees throughout Dallas College by communicating information to them. As retirees, the group reaffirms their continuing commitment to Dallas College to make quality education, career development, and lifelong learning available to every citizen of Dallas County. So we have co-moderators tonight for our event. We have on my left, Professor Asmara Salimi, and on my right, we have Dr. Norman Howden. Professor Salimi is a full-time faculty member here at Brookhaven, where she teaches courses in government and political science. In 2015, she received the Focus on Excellence Award and the Innovation of the Year Award for her dedication to teaching and student engagement. She served as the vice chair for Ignite Texas State Council, an organization focused on building the next generation of women in politics. She also sat on the board of directors for Wise Up Texas, which is dedicated to empowering South Asian communities through civic engagement. In addition to her passion for gender equity in politics, Professor Salimi is a proud East Dallas resident where she lives with her husband and her son. Dr. Norm Howden retired from Dallas College last year with more than 25 years of service in leadership positions in our libraries. Dr. Howden has a long and varied career during which he served as an Air Force officer in the 70s. Thank you for your service to our country, sir. And he taught at LSU, UNT, TWU, and the University of Missouri. He also has worked for the City of Dallas Office of Emergency Management and worked for SMU Libraries for 16 years. More recently, he was one of our primary leaders here at Dallas College, leading our new Learning Commons concept that we're developing. So in his retirement, Dr. Howden is volunteering with the Retirees Association and enjoying being a terrific granddad. Grandkids are the best. So now I would like to introduce our candidates. So from District 1, we have Lynn Davenport. Catalina E. Garcia. And our incumbent, Gretchen M. Williams. From District 2, we have incumbent Phil Ritter and Eugene J. Robinson. And from District 3, we have Paul Mayer. Unfortunately, candidate Soji John could not be here tonight. We have a video for that. So thank you again for joining us at Brookhaven campus. We're happy to have you here, and I'm now going to turn the program over to Professor Salimi.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your evening. It is a Tuesday evening, it is dinner time, but you made it a point to be here. I want to thank the trustees as well, or hopefully maybe future trustees candidates to join us here tonight. Local politics is at the core root of what civic engagement is. This is where political ideologies and lines blur, because when it comes down to it, we all have to go to school together. We all have to share the same roads. This is politics at its heart. So this is the second of our two Dallas College Faculty Association Candidate Forum. The first forum was last Monday at Richland campus, which is now available for you to watch on YouTube. Tonight's event is being recorded and will be available to watch later as well. Using the candidate order list on the official Dallas College election website, candidates will each present a 2-minute opening introductory statement. We will then ask 3 questions to all 6 candidates, limiting each response to 2 minutes. We will later alternate the response order to allow all contested candidates an opportunity to speak first. Following each question, we will also allow candidates 1 minute for an optional rebuttal. And audience members, if time permits, we will allow audience questions. If you have a question, please fill out one of the cards in the table right there. And again, like I said, if time permits, we will select questions to ask. We will close the session with an opportunity for each candidate to provide 2 minutes of closing remarks. Joining us tonight is Josh Rose, who is Brookhaven art history professor. And Josh, if you could raise your hand up and high, he'll be keeping time for us. He is also the president of Brookhaven Campus Faculty Association and secretary of Dallas College Faculty Association Faculty Council. Josh will be serving as our official timekeeper. So Josh will show a yellow card 30 seconds before time is up, and a red card after 20 minutes has expired or when time is up. Before we begin with candidate introduction, because District 3 candidate Soji John could not join us tonight as he is out of the country due to business reasons, the Dallas College Faculty Association and the Retirees Association asked Dr. Soji to prepare an introductory video, of which we will now show the first 2 minutes.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to thank Dallas College Faculty Council for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I'm sorry I couldn't be attend in person. I am overseas right now on a business trip, which I couldn't cancel. Let me give you a little bit about my background so that you could understand where I stand on positions you may speak about today and why I'm running. I grew up in the Dallas area, and as an undergraduate, I took courses at Dallas County Community Colleges at the time to supplement my coursework. I went on to graduate school. I came back to Texas Instruments, where I worked for several years as an engineer. Not being sure that I wanted to continue my career as an engineer, I wanted to apply to medical school. In order to do that, the only place I could take courses, being a full-time employee of TI and taking a part-time student in part-time evenings and weekend student, I could only do the coursework to meet the prerequisites at Brookhaven, Eastfield, Richland. So I've been a beneficiary of the college in my career. I'd like to see that continue for our whole community for the next 50 years. So as I decided finally not to go to medical school, I decided to go to law school instead. Now I am an in-house counsel at Western Digital, multi-billion-dollar corporation. I run the Dallas office for WDC. I'm also on the board of several other subsidiaries, and I manage the SD3C, which is a licensing organization for them. You may be familiar with it from SD cards and micro SD cards, which go into your cameras and phones. Anyway, that's a little bit of my background. What I'd like to see from the college, what I want for the college is for it to be a resource for our community. We've already made a large investment into it over the past 50 years. We've recently had 2 things: a bond package and a unification of the college. Part of the unification involved a lot of consultants coming in, I hope with a lot of faculty input and staff input to make a determination of how to reorganize the college under one umbrella. That job is not done yet, and we need to continue the efforts of getting the faculty and staff input and percolating up to the board so that we make the right decisions.
All right, and now each candidate will have an opportunity to introduce himself. We will start with District 1 candidate, Lynn Davenport.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for attending. It's great to see some familiar faces in the audience. And so I will start with my background. Personally, I'm a parent of public school kids. I have 2 in college and 1 who is finishing at Lake Highlands High School. And professionally, I was an IT recruiter with Arthur Andersen. I also worked in the telecom industry. And so I quit to have my kids, and for 11 years I worked as a volunteer career coach. So I coach job seekers and those who are seeking gainful employment. So I'm very familiar with the local industries and just workforce issues in the Metroplex. And then for the last almost a decade, I've been advocating on behalf of public schools. I have seen an unfortunate trend moving towards privatization of our public schools. So I've been trying to lift up our neighborhood schools, and in the process I have come to understand what's happening with the early college high schools and what's happening in the higher education realm. And so I've advocated on the state and the local level, and I see this trustee position as an opportunity for me to take my transferable skills and all of the things that I've learned in K-12 and education in Texas, and to help the college move forward and boost enrollment and really improve the academic integrity of Dallas College.
Thank you. District 1 candidate, Catalina E. Garcia.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dr. Catalina E. Garcia. I'm recently retired from Baylor Hospital, where I was an anesthesiologist, and I expect everybody to stay awake tonight, please. I'm not often a speaker, but the topic was so vital that I started reading the newspaper to learn all about Dallas College when I heard that they were going to appoint a trustee. And the more I learned, the more uncomfortable I got. I had been involved with Dallas College since the 1980s, where I was on an advisory committee to the then chancellor, Dr. Wright Lassiter. And when my tenure was over, I didn't go away. I just got more involved with the students. I have, for the past 40 years, mentored, tutored, informally taught, and then on Saturdays I would hire people to come to these students to come to my office and do clerical work, mostly so I could work on their language skills and their dress. It hurts my soul to have to tell you about what's happening at Dallas College. We have a 61% withdrawal rate. We have an abysmal 9% graduation rate. These are real figures. They're from the Department of Education College Scoreboard. They're not made up. They're not shuffled around. They are real, and they are disheartening. We must change this. The student is getting the raw end of the deal. They're paying for courses and then having to withdraw. They're getting no credit for the courses that they did take and did pass. They're losing an awful lot of emotional strength. The college is losing because it's paying for buildings and staff. Thank you very much. I'll continue my talk later.
Thank you. Next is District 1 candidate and incumbent, Gretchen M. Williams.
Good evening. Thank you, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm born and raised in Dallas, went to Hillcrest High School, public schools, and TCU with a Bachelor in Business Administration. I went to work for my family in the grocery business. I started actually working at 13, but continued on full-time there and learned many, many things about the community and serving the community and giving back to Dallas. So from a very early start, this has been my passion, and of course education I feel is one of the most important things that we can do to help others. Being in the grocery business, we gave students, a lot of people had their first jobs in the grocery business. So we understand how important a student is in training and accountability and trainability in teaching them many things that they can move forward in their life and their career. My husband was a Dallas College trustee for 16 years, and so he was very honored and loved his time here. He passed away this past summer, and I was one of 8 that applied for the position and was chosen, and so I was sworn in November. So even though I'm the new person on the board, I have been aware and known about many things that have happened in Dallas College. I'm currently a realtor, so ask me about home prices. So I understand how much the economy affects our community and understand what tuition and these things can mean to individuals and communities. So I look forward to the questions and sharing more with you.
Thank you. Now we move over to District 2 candidate and incumbent Phil Ritter.
Well, good evening. Thanks for having us at Brookhaven tonight. I grew up in Maryland. My mom was a school teacher. My dad was the director of the career placement office at the University of Maryland College Park. And I went to a Maryland undergrad and also to law school. But I always wanted to come to Texas. And my ticket to Texas was to go down to UT to the LBJ School of Public Affairs. And I've been very interested my entire life in government and policy and how it can help people. After leaving UT, graduating from UT, I moved to Dallas and worked for an oil and gas company for a few years, but the bulk of my career, over 20 years, was at Texas Instruments, practicing law. And my last 8 years there, I was Senior Vice President of Public Affairs, where I had responsibility for the company's education programs, global government relations programs, as well as a lot of the philanthropic programs. Through that experience, I had a chance to get deeply involved in various community organizations, including the UT Dallas Development Board, the United Way, and along the way I also found time to found a homeowners association in my neighborhood, the Preston Hollow North Homeowners Association. My involvement with Dallas College began over 20 years ago as a trustee of the Dallas College Foundation, and I was involved in raising scholarship money for the Rising Star program that many of you are familiar with. In 2004, I served as chairman of the bond campaign, which secured voter approval for $450 million of improvements. And 6 years ago, I ran for trustee and was successful in that endeavor. I love this college, and I love what it does and what we do for our students most particularly. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have District 2 candidate Eugene Robinson.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Gene Robinson is my name, for those of you all that do not know me or do not remember me. I am neither a businessman nor an incumbent. I am an educator. A substantial part of my life has been spent here on this campus. I was an instructor here at Brookhaven College for 23 years. Prior to that, I was a student at both Richland College and here at Brookhaven. Altogether, I probably got 45 years of experience in this district. I know all the players at the top. I worked with many of them. I worked with many of you all that I see sitting in this audience tonight. And I'll tell you why I'm running for this position. 6 years ago, I came in here and ran for this position unsuccessfully. I told you all at the time, I spoke specifically at that time to instructional support staff. I said that your administration has abandoned you and you are going to lose your jobs. Well, I'm back 6 years later, and I'm now here to speak to faculty and to retirees. The administration has now come full circle for you. 1,300 layoffs, an incredible amount of money squandered, very, very poor decisions at top administrative, from the top administration on down. I'm here to tell you that it's time for you to listen to what I'm saying this time, because your very positions are now on the line. You just got demoted from respect to disrespect, from 3-year contracts to 1-year contracts. And if you want to turn that around, it's time to stop doing business as usual and stop voting for the incumbents and vote for some real change and put some education back into this educational system instead of money squandering and probable money laundering. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And now we have District 3 candidate Paul Mayer.
Thank you. Native Texan, started professional life as a classroom teacher in Seguin, Texas. 4 years of classroom, decided that administration wasn't the path I wanted to go, so I got into chamber work. And for 45 years, I've been in economic development around the country. 33 of those 45 years in Garland. And I mentioned economic development because that's the reason I'm sitting here and hopefully serving you as a trustee on the board. If you don't spell economic development these days as getting people ready to ascend to their place in life, then you're not really spelling economic development, period. As CEO of the Chamber in Garland for the last 33 years, I've worked almost from day one with the college, with the school district, in creating pathways for students. We've done over $7 million worth of skills development grants, thousands of employees, skills uplifted, trained, high school students positioning into college roles, all with the idea that we build an economy based on the people that are going to be working at whatever level, at whatever job that they choose to be. I define economic development as a people's ability to earn the life that they want. I see this as this role as an extension of what I do every day, and I look forward to doing it at the trustee level. Thank you.
All right, thank you for everyone's introductions. We'll step right into the first question. And, we'll start with District 2 candidate Eugene Robinson, and we'll go down the list we have. Question number 1. In the middle of a pandemic, the current board recently voted to remove an important element of teachers' job security, a 3-year contract that rolls over every year. What are your thoughts about that, Mr. Robinson?
2 minutes?
2 minutes, yes, 2 minutes. Yes, everyone gets 2 minutes.
Okay, well, I don't think I need 2 minutes. I think you pretty much know what my feeling is already. Teaching used to be a respected position, and it was in this district for a long, long time, up until about 6 years ago when Joe May came along. You're totally disrespected now, just like professional support staff was disrespected by administration 6 and 8 years ago. Your classrooms have been taken over by early college high school programs, junior high and high school students. Your courses have been forced online. Many of your courses have been eliminated entirely. It's almost like the administration now has an attitude that this would be a great place to make money if it just weren't for all of you darn faculty and students in the way. Commercial development is getting their fingers into this pie. There's a huge, huge amount of money available, and they just want it all, and they'll take it from any place they can get it, and they finally come to take it from you. I'm telling you right now that if you want your respect back as instructors, as the transmitters of knowledge to the future generation of America, if you want that back, it's time for each and every one of you to start stepping up, run people for these positions. Every time one of these community college board of trustees position comes up, get your own people. If you can't run because you're a current instructor, get a retiree to run who's a like-minded person. Step by step, start taking this district back and turn the emphasis from profit-making back around to education.
All right, thank you. And next, District 2, Phil Ritter.
Well, I just want to say to the faculty, I respect you. I admire the work that you do with our students, and it's amongst the most important work that anybody could do. I mentioned my parents both being educators, and I want to say that over the 6 years that I've served on the board, the most consistent feedback that I receive from my constituents is about you and your excellence and the quality of the classroom experience that students enjoy at the various Dallas College campuses. We made a decision as a board to change the policy on faculty contracts. It used to be that they would roll for another 3 years every year. And one of the things that the board is trying to do with this organization as part of the One College is to create a culture of accountability and to reward excellence and results. And so, having contracts roll automatically every year was, in the board's opinion, and I supported this, not the right way to go. That doesn't mean we did away with 3-year contracts. Faculty can be awarded 3-year contracts, but there's not an automatic renewal process. And our belief in that was based on the fact that we should all be accountable and have our performance reviewed in terms of what we do in the classroom. So that was the reason for that change. There will be a lot of discussion, and I will say that I have enjoyed a great depth of support from faculty, and there's some of the most meaningful relationships that I have. We will be going into a continued dialogue in the coming months about faculty performance and incentives and rewards for excellence in teaching, and I welcome and urge your participation in that process.
All right, thank you. Next, District 3, Paul Mayer.
The fact that I've been in a classroom and been a classroom teacher and recognize that the core of any educational institution is the people that face the students. So while I wasn't there for the decision, I do applaud the fact that faculty is the backbone of this institution. And I will support, by all means, the way to restore that trust, restore that feeling of the importance of those positions. That's all I can say.
District 1, Catalina Garcia.
Thank you. What makes a school great is the faculty. Things seem to be turned around here. They have now given the rolling 3-year contract to administration, and the teachers, the professors, the support staff, who really are responsible for our future educational system, have no power at all, have no standing at all. This used to be a campus that had a lot of camaraderie among the professors. It feels good to help people. I've been on the medical end of it. It is a real, real buzz. We have made it a miserable situation here because we have gotten rid of so many of the support staff in terms of teaching that were the basis of taking then what you learn in class and working with this support staff to enrich yourself and grow and get the knowledge that you were exposed to in the classroom. The libraries were downgraded. What happened to all the old librarians? Well, they're not old in age, pardon me. But they were there a long time and had experience. They're gone. Have you looked at our student body? They were not all born in Dallas County, people. They didn't grow up in a middle-class family that knows how to do research, that knows how to go to the library. We need the kind of support system that fits the student body. We are not producing what America needs: a workforce that's trained for the future. 9% only finish, 61% drop out. Why is that? Who is making it so miserable here that one can't learn?
Time's up. I'm sorry, we'll have to cut you short.
I don't mind.
Next we'll have District 1, Gretchen M. Williams.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I was at the board meeting when this was voted on, and change is hard. It's not always a popular decision, and it was done for a reason. And Phil mentioned these, for accountability and results and to award excellence. Doesn't mean you can't have 3-year contracts. It means it's not going to be automatic. And you see this in business. I'm not sure where you think the administration has a 3-year contract or rolling contracts. But performance and incentive, those are important things. And faculty is the backbone that makes the school with the students. You're the teachers, in the simplest of terms. So yes, change is hard, but I think so many have such excellence here and such knowledge. And I think you probably, for the most part, understand these decisions and have nothing to worry about that's there. So I think this is something that is hard for change, but it's one of these things that it's done for a reason, and it's very thought out and very discussed, and I think it'll be very positive in the long run. My dad used to say, there's nothing for sure in life but change, and change is not easy. So I think this is one, there's changes in everyone's life every day. So I agree, and we want feedback and information from each of you. Thank you.
All right, next we have District 1, Lynn Davenport.
Yes, change is hard, especially when it comes from a change agent like Dr. May, who was brought in to do exactly what he did. And I know he's gone now, but the decisions he made are, I don't know if they can be undone. When I hear those words like rewarding and accountability, in talking with the faculty, talking about the faculty, what I hear is merit pay and pay for performance. And there's so many parallels between what's happening in the public schools and what's happening at Dallas College in the higher ed level, and that's corporate speak. And I come from the corporate world, so I know exactly what they're saying. And I know that the Gates Foundation invested $650 million in, or maybe it was 450, I don't know, it was a lot, and in pay for performance and merit pay, and they realized after 2 decades, it doesn't work. And we're talking about people here, so if they really and truly value the people, prove it. So when you talk to administrators, and I don't know how many of you in this room are administrators, but I see a lot of nodding heads from faculty. And if they really value the people, then they'll put the people over these projects that you're seeing going on. I've seen 3 in the last few weeks, groundbreaking ceremonies and photo ops. And you think about, they're putting money into buildings and projects and construction companies, but not into the people. Clearly, they do not value the people. And who else suffers? Is the students. And so this may sound negative, but this is the reality. We've got to face the cold, hard facts of what's happening at Dallas College, and the incumbents are sweeping this under the rug. They bought the talking points from those behind the scenes who were making those decisions with Dr. Joe May, like the Commit Partnership. And that's how I even figured out what was, okay, sorry, I'll stop.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next question, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond if they choose. Does anyone want to respond or rebut?
Can I respond?
Yes, you have 1 minute, and Josh will only let you know when your time is up.
Okay, I'll be very brief. Yeah, you know, I think that this argument misses a very, very important point when it comes to education, and that's academic freedom. You may remember that. It used to be talked about. You know, we never had tenure here at Brookhaven or in the community college district, but we had 3-year contracts, and as long as you weren't some kind of criminal, you pretty much got your contract renewed as long as you were doing your job. You know, that was academic freedom. That was academic integrity. You had the power and the ability to speak your mind, to tell the truth without influence from administration or a woke administrative culture or a newspaper that was threatening to expose you for something if you did something they didn't like. You know, you had the power to go against the trend and tell the truth. And that is what's missing when you move from a 3-year contract to a 1-year contract and you're begging and borrowing and pleading for your job every single year. That's a control strategy.
All right, time's up. Anyone else would like to respond before we move to the next question? Good. All right, and then Norm Howden.
Yes, moving on. The second question for candidates: how do you balance the need to produce students that are job ready with the need to also produce informed citizens that are prepared to live in a complex society? And we'll start this time with Paul Mayer.
I think the operative word is balance. And it's interesting, working with industry and business for 45 years, there was a time when business wanted human robots. They wanted people to come in, sit down, do a job, and not think. That time is gone. Every employer that I talk about today talks about a worker, a student, somebody getting ready to be hired that can think. Critical thinking, communication, collaboration, curiosity are all components of the workforce that they're looking for right now. So balance in that regard is absolutely necessary. Coming from a liberal arts background, I applaud the ability to learn how to learn. And I think that that's an important part of what we're going to do at the college and what I would be supporting if I'm a trustee.
Very good, thank you. Moving on then to Gretchen Williams.
Can you repeat that last part about balance for job ready and?
Sure. The question is, how do you balance the need to produce students that are job ready with the need to produce informed citizens that are prepared to live in a complex society?
Well, part of the training and the certifications that we have are to produce students that are ready in the workplace. We have multiple business relationships with training and students that can go immediately into corporations or businesses and work, whether it be through mechanical, HVAC, whether it's Texas Instruments, with computers, computer chips and technology. We have a wide variety that makes Dallas College very special in that area, and we listen to what the community needs that's in there as far as our baccalaureate program for early childhood education and knowing we need more educators. And the next one's going to be nursing because there's a severe nursing shortage that's in the country, actually, not just in Dallas. So we try to meet these needs. And then as far as a complex society, I think that is part of learning to work with each other and deal with each other. It's, part of equality, diversity, inclusion. Our society is very complex, and we live in a very large metroplex, and we have people from all over the world who want to move here. And so we learn different cultures and how to deal with each other, respect each other. I think that's a very large part, is learning to respect others and what their beliefs are, and working in the community, because that's what we try to do as part of the trustees, is use our relationships, leverage our relationships in the community, and then to all try to work together to help the students and the faculty and the administrators.
Thank you. Next up, Lynn Davenport.
Well, I would say that in finding that balance, what I'm seeing at Dallas College is it appears the pendulum has shifted so far into workforce training and the whole workforce model, and that seems to benefit the whims of the corporate demands. And if we're really truly focusing on student needs and academic needs and the professional faculty that we have, I think we need to swing that pendulum back more towards academic rigor and address the issue that we have with the students coming out of K-12. Many of the students come from Dallas ISD and Richardson ISD, where more than half of the kids are not reading on grade level. It's a huge issue. It's a huge elephant in the room. So we talk about critical thinking and what the people need to have an educated populace. Well, that starts in K-12, and if we're not being honest and open about what we're seeing come out of K-12, then we're just kicking the can so far down the road. And with this emphasis on early college high schools and dual credit, that is putting the cart before the horse, where the students are really not getting what they need in K-12, so then they're having to be remediated at the college level. So I think there's a lot of focus on, well, what does business need? What does business need? What does the corporate world need? And what do they want from our students? And I think we need to focus more on what do the students need. Think about how you were educated. You were given an education rooted in academic knowledge. That they weren't talking about careers and workforce when you were in elementary school. I'm all for raising the ceiling and opening up options for students, but we're supplanting their most basic academic needs by putting the corporations ahead of them.
Thank you. Moving along to Catalina Garcia.
Thank you. I once more want to get back to the numbers. we're losing 60% of the students, 61 exactly. Now, we're all talking and it's lofty, but we're not keeping the students. What is the point of having a school that keeps losing students? This has been going on for 8 years. This is not a COVID problem, okay? We do need workforce. We do need citizens who know how to think and problem solve and decide for themselves. Do they want to believe this? Do they want to believe that? Yes. But we have to retain the students first. And part of the problem is nobody's paying attention to why these people just left. Nobody cares. And I think that's what's gotten me really interested in serving. For the past 8 years, the numbers have all been going down, down, and they're continuing down. This summer, they have less students in summer school than they've ever had before. They're not hiring any adjuncts. The regular professors will be enough. Why are we paying for buildings then? It makes no sense to me. I thought schools were to produce educated students. We need to change a lot of things at the college and do what we can to find out why are these people leaving. If it's a money situation, why can't we get involved? Business is so involved, but they're not involving business truly in mentorships, internships, part-time jobs. There seems to be a disconnect, and I don't know if these panels are just business people meeting, but they're not talking real life. They're not talking about these young people who do not totally read and write English, quite frankly. Have you ever hired one of these students? I have.
Thank you.
They can't spell.
Thank you, Catalina. Next, we'd like to move to Phil Ritter.
Well, Dr. Garcia just made a remarkable statement. She said business is not involved and they're not doing internships and mentorships and that type of thing. Well, I would invite her to learn about the PTech program, where over 100 employers are involved with Dallas College students in providing mentorship and internships, and are actually on campus, working with these students one-on-one so that they can learn not just the hard skills that might be necessary, but also the soft skills which are valued by business, like collaboration, communication, citizenship, getting along well with other people. And I reject the premise that there's a choice to be made between traditional education and career training. I think Dallas College does both, and I think they do it very well. When you look at the college catalog for Dallas College, you see history, you see government, you see psychology, you see a lot of traditional liberal arts. We're teaching languages here at Dallas College. My opponent says that everything's been eviscerated in the language department. That's just not true. I mean, those course offerings are available to our students today. So I think we need to continue to strengthen our partnerships with business. It's not just workforce training skills that businesses are interested in, because if business doesn't have well-rounded, thoughtful employees, their business is not going to be successful. And I believe this college and the faculty and those of you out there are training our students to do both. One thing I'll add as well is that we're an agent of assimilation, we Dallas College. I mean, it's not an accident that every Dallas College campus is a voting location, right? And the clubs that we have for volunteerism and the opportunities to get involved in the community here at Dallas College, they are equally important as well to the Dallas College experience.
Thank you. Moving on to Eugene Robinson.
I taught in foreign languages. My entire foreign language program was eviscerated. It was eliminated in 2014 by a then sitting vice president at this college who did it deliberately, and it went on over several years. This was done deliberately so money could be taken out of regular college education and put into the early college high school program. That's your tax money, that's student tuition that is being used illegally for those programs. To answer your question that was asked, 2 points. We haven't just been hobnobbing with our corporate pals. We've been out speaking to actual business people at these forums and to instructors at these campuses and finding out what's really going on. I had a very interesting conversation with a businessman today that runs a medical lab at a forum we went to. a medical business. He said he hires all of his technicians from the community college district. He said none of them know what they're doing now. They're all trained online, which is where, if there are any foreign language programs left, that's what you get. Guess what? You can't teach yourself to speak a foreign language. That's not humanly possible. He said they were not that great before, now they're terrible. He said he has to retrain them all the time. They don't know what they're doing. To answer the second part of your question, what is our duty here to the future generations of America? Our duty is not just to teach them to be phlebotomists or cosmetologists. Our duty is to teach them to be good, responsible Americans that are going to continue to support our Republican way of life, our democratic process. These people are going to be voting for president. They're going to be running your city councils. They're going to be making your decisions for you. They need to be trained to appreciate America, to love this country, to appreciate what they came from and the opportunities here. They need to be taught about the history. They need to be taught about the politics. They need to be taught about the entire American experience and to develop an appreciation for it so they do become good citizens of this country. That is a huge part of our responsibility as educators.
Thank you. Again, before we move on to the next question, we have 1 minute for each candidate to respond or comment. Are there rebuttals?
I just got one. I mean,
Mr. Ritter?
Mr. Robinson said that his program was cut in order to fund early college high schools. Well, he left the district 6 years ago. That was in 2016. I mean, the early college high schools weren't, even beginning at that point. So, I was involved, as all the trustees are, in the budget approval. We studied this very carefully, and there was no shifting of money from an academic program like he refers to into early college programs. And this the other thing I will say.
The early college high school students for 2 years prior to my departure in 2014. I taught those students. They were here. We all know they were here.
The students were here, but the suggestion that money was taken from from his bucket, what was funding his program to fund early college, is just not true. It's just not true. And then
I paid the salaries. I signed the timesheets. I know where the money was coming from.
It's just not true. It's just not true.
I did it.
Thank you, gentlemen. There was another candidate?
Yes.
Yes.
We keep hearing comments about lack of graduation, and I think we can speak to that a little on, I have numbers through 2021, so obviously it isn't through this year, that we have last year 106,931 students for credit and 21,672 for continuing education. This is 125,000 plus students. But we have to remember, some students take a single class. Some are taking continuing education. Some aren't not looking to graduate. They're taking just a single class or two for improvement, self-improvement, or to have more training in a particular area. So it's easy to say we're not doing a good job on graduating these students when it's not everyone's goal that they need to get a associate's degree or a certification. The other thing is we did add, and we have continued to work with success coaches to find out when a student has left or is no longer taking classes. Why is that?
Thank you.
Yes.
Next, and one more.
I just wanted to clarify one thing is that Mr. Ritter mentioned the P-TECH program, and there are a lot of programs, there's a lot of what I call programmatic gimmickry. And P-TECH stands for Pathways to Technology. And when you think about those pathways, that's what I was referencing before, is it's a narrow pathway. And so this is to feed the pipeline. But when you think about what they really need in the technology industry, or you hear about the STEM crisis, the crisis is that the kids are not being educated in the most basic things, math, science, and English language. So we are doing these gimmicks. So we're putting out these gimmicks, and they're empty platitudes. They don't have any substance behind them. You might find anecdotal evidence here and there, but as a whole, we're failing. And then the newspaper reports how wonderful these programs are with no substance.
And ready for question 3.
Question number 3. How would you assess the recent reorganization of Dallas College and its impact on students, faculty, and employees? We'll start with Catalina Garcia.
Thank you. Well, it's kind of a sad picture. I was really excited when I learned that we were going to go under one administration, not because there appeared to be a problem for a small number of students who couldn't get accreditation and get all of their credits transferred, but because as a taxpayer, I could see the price of running this college is going to go down. One administration, we're going to get rid of a lot of the upper guidance that sometimes isn't needed when you have one administration, not 7. Sad to say, that was not the case. Very expensive consulting companies were brought in who just happened to have had a past connection with the chancellor. There was no real search nationwide for this chancellor, by the way, when he was appointed and selected. There appears to be a lack of interest in making this school really work. It's very important that you look at the changes that occurred, which should have been wonderful. Instead, we're ending up with fewer students. Success coaches have replaced certified counselors. Do you know what that is? It is not equity. I could go on and on. I want you to know I studied this since August, last August. I started studying this and reading about what was happening and the changes, interviewing people who were still in the system, people who were not in the system. This is a mess. Change must occur, and it must focus on the student.
Thank you. Gretchen Williams.
Yes. The consolidation was not one that was taken easily. It was discussed for a very long time. Dallas college system is over $500 million, and when you make a change and a consolidation of this size, it is a normal procedure to bring in consultants, and unfortunately consultants aren't cheap. And a lot of changes happened, and some liked them, some did not. And that is very normal, that's on there. But we consolidated with the 7 campuses, one name. We have saved millions of dollars that we have reinvested into the system, into the students, and this is a good thing for Dallas College. And it's one that will put us in the future and make us one of the best systems in the country. I hope that is our goal. Alamo is the one that tops us in Texas, out of San Antonio. But these are really good things. It's the synergies. We didn't need 7 different catalog programs, 7 different IT, 7 different things. So Dallas College consolidation was a very positive thing.
Thank you. Lynn Davenport.
It was a very positive thing for the consulting company that was hired. So they spent $18 million. We have the open records requests, and they paid them $18 million. Okay, and then they paid another $12 million to lay off and eliminate almost 1,300 positions. And so when you think about that, $30 million, how many students can you educate on $30 million? Frustrating. Alamo, you mentioned Alamo, Texas. That is the highest performing community college system in the state. They did not consolidate theirs, so think about that. And I know that they used a legitimate issue. That's usually how they do this whole disaster situation. It's like disaster capitalism. You go and you blow it up, and then you come in and propose the solution. Well, so this decision of consolidating these 7 campuses has been a complete failure. I don't understand how you can justify the decrease in students, the increase in spending, and where's the fruit? Help me understand how you can justify this. And both incumbents continue to double down on this was a good idea to bring in these consultants. If you look at, I mentioned the commit partnership before. If you look at the data sharing agreements that the commit partnership has with Dallas ISD, that same consulting company they hired and paid $18 million at Dallas College, they were embedded in the data sharing agreement. I think we need to start examining what is happening with all of this data that they're collecting. And the company that Phil works for, they uploaded 1.7 million student records from 1965 until now. Who has access to that?
All right, time. Thank you. Next, we have Eugene Robinson.
Yeah, I would just like to remind the entire world, going all the way up to administration and the board, that the purpose that this college district exists for is to educate people. It doesn't exist to spend money. For the last 10 years, this college district has basically assumed that its role is to spend money and to create additional unnecessary and useless and encumbering administrative positions downtown. Okay, I know personally 2 of the administrators that used to work at this college. They were so bad, nobody would work with them. They got fired up and created new positions in administration downtown. Collectively, they make about $2 million from the top 5 down there. The consolidation of these colleges into one entity, I looked into this quite thoroughly. The supposed reason was that, we just can't transfer these credits. And I said, well, aren't they all accredited by the same institution, Southern Association of Colleges? Yes. Okay, so now that it's under one name, we went through all this $30 million apoplexy to change the name, which apparently the top 5 administrators making $2 million couldn't figure out how to do by themselves and had to hire an $18 million consulting firm to do. Now that we've done that, how are they accredited now? The same. Do they still go to visit each and every site and accredit each and every individual school? Yes. What has actually changed in this subsuming into one name? It really was just a semantic move that had no real purpose, unless the purpose is to reaccredit the whole thing as a 4-year institution, in which case we're going to need a whole bunch more commercial buildings. And guess who our partners are going to be? The Texas Real Estate Council.
Thank
who
you.
is now interested in the Community College District Board of Trustees.
Next, we have Phil Ritter.
It's really interesting to me that Ms. Davenport and Mr. Robinson, come before you and complain about consulting contracts, and they'll also complain about the bond program that was supported by 71% of the voters, and they disparage educators who've given their lives to public education personally and accuse them, of corruption and malfeasance. They've done the same with me as well, and I'm a volunteer in the district. But they never show up at the board meetings. We never got one input from either of these 2 on a consultant contract, on the one college consolidation, on the bond program. These people do not show up except around election time, and they throw stones, and I just want to point that out. I doubled down on one college. I doubled down on it because it was absolutely necessary. When I joined this board, our 7 campuses, separately accredited, were all in the bottom quartile of student success points, which it's a combination of measurements of graduation rates and academic progression. We were failing our students. We were failing our taxpayers. These people want change. Well, change is one college. And we're in the middle of that right now. We are an unnavigable institution under the old model for our students. Highly confusing. They couldn't get good counseling. They weren't progressing. They weren't moving on. And it was even harder for employers. I mean, you talk about health. We had 3 separate colleges of healthcare, 3 separate colleges of construction management. We had to bring these things together in order to better serve our students, to better utilize taxpayer resources, and to better serve our employers who want to hire our students.
Thank you. And next, Paul Mayer.
I could sit here and plead rookie status, which I legitimately can do, but I will tell you that I'm running for this position to join a board to move an institution forward that I believe is the most critical element in the development of the economy anywhere, especially in Dallas County. To say I'm excited about being part of something that's got that much change, and with change, all this, there is disruption in faculty and students and businesses that connect. But I believe in the path going forward is going to be a better institution. I was going to say, to add a little balance to this conversation, that my daddy would say that, Paul, it's better to be silent and to be thought a fool than to open up your mouth and remove all doubt. So I was going to hide behind that, but I say it's too important to going forward that we're going to create the district that produces the product that makes this region an economic powerhouse that it needs to be. Amen.
And as before, candidates have 1 minute to respond if they choose. Lynn Davenport.
You know, it's difficult to manage my time because there are so many meetings, public meetings, such as school board meetings, Dallas College meetings, Dallas County meetings, the city council meetings, and then the legislature. And if all you have to do is Google me and you'll find all kinds of testimonies out there. Government is run by those who show up, and I show up. And one of my friends is here in the audience, a graduate of Dallas College, and he and I went on a little tour talking about school bonds. And, you know, it's big business is what it is. School bonds are big business. Look at your tax return, your tax bill. Look at Dallas College, Dallas County, Parkland, the school districts. We're being gouged. You're in real estate, Gretchen. You mentioned the housing industry when you were giving
All
your...
right, we have time. Yeah. All right, would anyone else like to respond?
Yes, I'd like to, if I may.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't go to the meetings downtown. What I did do was dedicate 23 years of my life to this institution and to the Dallas Community College District. Before that, I was a student in this community college district, and I probably have accumulated somewhere around a total of 50 hours of time, credit time. I've seen this institution go from a well-respected jewel of this county to something that's basically become a for-profit pincushion. Do I have respect for instructors? I was one of you, okay? I know what you do. I have every 100% ounces of respect for you all. How much respect do I have for the administrators downtown that have turned this district into what it is now? Zero.
All right, time. Now, one last call for any responses for anyone else who have not had a chance to respond. All right.
Okay, first question from the audience. And we won't have rebuttal with these questions. What can the board do to enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion? And we'll start the responses with Lynn Davenport.
Well, Dallas College is diverse, and I haven't looked at the diversity in the demographics of the faculty, but I have looked at it for the students, and I believe it's 47% Hispanic, and then I believe it's 12% African American, even less white students. So I would say I would look at some of the smaller percentages, and apparently we're doing a very good job attracting Latino students, but I would say we need to look at why we're not attracting black students, and I don't know the answer to that. So I would say with the faculty, I don't know yet. I'd have to get in there and see.
Very good.
Celebrate diversity. I think we are a diverse college system, so we would continue that, of course.
Very good, thank you.
I'm sorry, but I am not encouraging anyone to come to Dallas College right now. We have a lot of housekeeping to do before I can recommend to any young person who wants an education to come to a place where 61% withdraw, only 9% graduate. Something is wrong with the system. I would not send anyone into a system until we've done an awful lot of work to understand. And you know, we have all kinds of experts on campus. I do not understand, on all the campuses actually, I don't understand why we had to go get a consulting firm that one of the things they suggested was that all scheduling should be centralized. It didn't work. It had to be sent back out to the campuses where it was before, where it was working just fine. This is just a simple example of the many things that got messed with, like the success coaches instead of certified counselors, like new librarians instead of, inexperienced people whom they could pay less, instead of the librarians who'd been there and doing such a fine job that they had after-school programs and in-between class programs where they worked with the language needs of our students. You cannot write programs for computers if you don't speak English, if you don't read and write English. You cannot be part of an ambulance team that's coming to rescue unless you're able to understand what all the vials mean, unless you're able to tell your partners and your team what is going on. Nothing in here that's happening here is logical. I'm very concerned about where we're going with this. We must have tremendous change. It needs to start soon.
Thank you. We'll move along to Gretchen Williams.
Yes. I believe the question was about equity, diversity, and inclusion.
It was.
Okay. I'm definitely believe in the DEI. It is very important. I practice fair housing every day. Back in my grocery business days, it was all about having equality in management, store managers, promoting from within, finding and training people and keeping people. So this is part of inclusion. We're all different people, and that's what makes the world interesting. But we all need to be included, and we work very hard to train people, to include people, and I think you have to start, at a very young age so that children understand this and grow up to be adults that understand this. So I'm very much pro for equality, diversity, and inclusion.
Thank you. Moving to Phil Ritter.
Well, the board has a commitment to diversity and equity and inclusion that's expressed in our strategic plan, and it really plays out on three dimensions at least. One is in terms of how we do our contracting to make sure that all citizens in this community have a shot at doing business with Dallas College, and that's especially important as we go into this $1.1 billion bond program, and we're talking mostly about small businesses here, who have the capacity to grow if they're given a chance. The second element of DEI, relates to hiring, both in faculty and staff. Are we, creating the partnerships and going out into the community to find qualified individuals who can do the job from all walks of life and all segments of our community? The board, keeps a close eye on that. And then the third is the culture and the environment. We should welcome everybody. We're a community college. And so some of the programs that we have, and especially programs that are student-driven, to create, peer clubs and affinity groups inside the college where people can relate to each other who are similar to them, but also share their differences more broadly within the community. That's an important part of the college experience and something which is done well here, I think, at Dallas College.
Thank you. Next, Eugene Robinson.
Yeah, the district created some diversity, equity, and inclusion position, paid that position another big salary. By the way, also the district has created 2 full-time positions for sustainability. I guess they're going to figure out how to save the trees on campus or something, all the while your jobs are being laid off. The last figure I saw about the racial makeup of the district was like 82% minority, 82% non-white, 16% white. When I was here at Brookhaven, it was probably 55% white, 45% non-white. Where did those white students go? That's my question. When you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, how much more diversity can you get when it's 100% non-white? Is that inclusion? I mean, you know, when I go downtown and I pick up a brochure from the community college district headquarters, and it's got an advertisement in there, and all the faces in there are not white. Does that make me or my children or my neighbors here in North Dallas, does that make you want to come here? Is that the message that it gives you? No, it's the message that this isn't your place and you're not wanted here. You know, I never saw any kind of discrimination against minorities in the entire time I taught here. What I did see was plenty of discrimination against whites, against males, and political persecution too if you thought differently from the administration or your superiors or your dean. That's what I saw here. And that's not right. Okay, that's not including everybody. Everybody has a right to be treated equally, and I don't think that's happening in this district and has not for a long time.
Thank you. Next, Paul Mayer.
I'm blessed to be working and living in probably one of the most diverse parts of Dallas County that exists. We have people literally from all over the world representing not only every race, culture, creed, every way you can define diversity, but it happens every day. I was with Saxe High School today and talking to their student body, and a young man from Africa was talking about his desire to pay his parents back for giving up everything that they had in Africa so that he could take care of them. We live it. We live it every day. Epiroc, a Swedish company, has a goal to be 50% female population by 2030, employee population across the board from production to administration. So we live it. In my 30 plus years in the district, I've interacted with faculty, with administration, with students. I believe we are diverse. I believe we are executing that. Can we do more? Absolutely. Can we be more welcoming? Yeah. But I believe that we're on that and been doing that for a very long time. So.
Thank you.
We'll have time for only one more question from the audience. There were a couple of questions that did repeat, so I'm going to go with that one. The question is, what is Dallas College currently doing to attract and retain quality faculty? And we'll start with Paul Mayer.
That's easy. I have no idea. I'm going to, I believe that we are. I believe it. I mean, I've been, like I said, around the district. If I'm elected, I'll be the rookie on the board. But I believe that everything I've known about it, everything I believe about it is that they're working for that. Faculty is the key to producing the product that we're doing. So that's all I can say.
All right, Gretchen Williams.
Yes, our responsibility is at a policy level and governance, and we definitely can speak and ask questions about any type of recruiting. And of course, we would want to have recruitment for the best and the brightest, because we want what's best here for Dallas College, for our students, for other faculty members, and the administration. So we've done everything with doing the best we can as far as using best practices, what is important, and having measures and hiring the best candidates that are there. So I guess when they ask what are we doing, we continue to do it, every day. And when there's the end of a semester and people choose to make changes, there's always new professors, new positions that are available. So we continue to do what we do, and we do it well.
All right, thank you. Lynn Davenport.
Well, I mentioned in my introduction that I come from the recruiting world, and so recruiting and retention, that's kind of my strong suit, although that is not my role as a trustee. What I think that the role of the trustee is to hold the new chancellor accountable and ensure that he is doing those things. I know that we had quality faculty, and we either ran them off or we laid them off, and those like Gene Robinson. So I think, maybe evaluate how we got to this point, audit the college. I think we need to audit our practices and evaluate them, and if they're not working, then get rid of them. Looking at the role of the trustee, I think it's very important to understand what is the responsibility of the trustees and stay in our lanes as elected officials. And we have to be responsive, and we have to be available. We have to listen to those who put us there in that role. The taxpayers, the faculty, the students, that's who we answer to. And so I think it's important for us to listen to what are the needs out there and how do we attract the best.
Thank you. Catalina Garcia.
Thank you. As an anesthesiologist, I depend greatly on nurses, and El Centro had the most fantastic program you ever saw. Anyone that came out of that program was an amazing asset to have in the operating room. And then little by little, I started realizing that that was disappearing. And why did that happen? Because the faculty was not being paid competitively, was not being given the kind of involvement in the management of the teaching that was required. So that program doesn't really exist anymore. I think it's wonderful that they're planning on a 4-year program. I just hope they can find the quality of professionals for faculty that used to be at El Centro. They were outstanding. You didn't have to tell them something sometimes. They knew what you needed and they had it for you. That is a gut reaction that is so important that we don't seem to get. We have to treat faculty like real people. We have to start paying competitive salaries. We have to start treating them like the important people that they are. Listen, I was from kindergarten to medical school. I was educated on your dime. Everything was public. I'm a first-generation American. I did go to work at 14, but not because I wanted spending money, but because if I didn't, my family wasn't going to be able to make the rent, because we're not going to have the clothes to go to school. That's the kind of student that we get at El Centro, and we have to start making certain that we're doing things to aid this. I know there are businesses that are having programs that are involved. Then why are we losing 61% of our students?
It's time. Next, we have Phil Ritter.
Thank you. You know, we have an extraordinarily stable faculty employment base when you look at the data. I mean, people come to work at Dallas College to teach. They stay a long, long time. And I think that fact in itself is one important indicator of you know, how well we're compensating and rewarding people. I mean, there's a market for faculty services. And so, you know, what happens is there's an analysis. What can you get paid here compared to being paid in Collin County, compared to being paid in Tarrant County? And, you know, we have never turned down the chancellor's recommendation, you know, in the budget, which is where these decisions are made, and, you know, for faculty compensation. And I think the fact that our faculty stick around is evidence that, you know, there is adequate compensation, or otherwise people would leave. Now, I believe that, you know, as we strive for greater accountability and performance rewards, you know, in Dallas College, beginning with the chancellor and cascading down through the organization, that we should find some additional incremental ways to reward excellence in teaching, because we have excellent faculty And those of you who are delivering results and serving your students, you should get more. You should be paid more for what you do. If you're a great mentor, you should get paid more. And that's what I'm very excited about, the opportunity to, dialogue with the faculty and create a system to help make that happen. It'll be different in different disciplines at Dallas College. It'll be different in history than it would be in health sciences, than it would be in construction management. But that's going to be part of the work that will be about the next couple of years in terms of faculty incentives and rewards.
Thank you. And finally, Eugene Robinson.
This argument about retaining faculty, it always seems to come down to money, right? How many of you people got into education, dedicated your lives to education because you were expecting to get rich doing it? It's not about money. It's about you dedicated your lives to transmitting knowledge on to other people, and that fulfills you. That's why you get into it. How do we retain good faculty? Stop running them off. Okay, stop shooing them out the door. Stop canceling their classes because you want to put their money into some other place, some other social reengineering project that you've dreamed up or that's popular. Stop running adjunct faculty out. Over the years, I saw adjunct faculty in this district. I saw them go from being able to make a pretty decent living by teaching multiple classes and extra like CLS classes and tutoring and other things. And slowly over time, the district kept coming up with more and more restrictive rules. They squeezed them slowly like a lemon until they just squeezed the lifeblood out of them. Those kind of anti-faculty, anti-teaching, anti-education decisions are exactly what I'm talking about in the poor administration of this district, okay? You retain good faculty by not running them off. There are plenty of good faculty. Stop pushing them out the door.
All right, thank you. So now we will conclude with final remarks. We will give each candidate 2 minutes to give their closing remarks, starting with Gretchen Williams.
Thank you. Well, thank you again for inviting us to be here tonight. I go back to the mission statement of Dallas College. Education transforms lives. And this is what basically it all boils down to. And I would challenge, it doesn't just transform lives, but it can transform communities because it has that ripple effect of better jobs, better housing, better pay, better for the community, and learning to give back and spread throughout their family and influencing others. This is an important position. This is an important job that we have here to continue to see Dallas College succeed, and it is through our faculty and administration, because when the student succeeds, then we all succeed. So I appreciate your time tonight. I look forward to hopefully serving you again for another 2 years, and then after that, that is my only goal. It's not a stepping stone, as one of my opponents mentioned, for other things. I want to serve Dallas College and do the best I can. Thank you.
All right, Catalina Garcia.
Thank you. I'm really pleased that so many of you came out to find out what Dallas College is doing for the student. That really is the mission. In 1971, when this whole process of junior college, community college was started, that was the point, to educate young people to be America's future. We need a workforce. I have no problem with teaching trades. The problem I have is we also have to make certain that the students stay here, really finish. 9% is ridiculous. I don't see how we're going to build a workforce on that number, do you? It's important to the whole nation that we have an educated workforce, not being taught 20th century type stuff, but 22nd century stuff. We have to start building for the future. It seems to me like we're just kind of treading water here, just trying to keep the place going. There have to be drastic changes, but the kind of changes that are focused on the student, not on administration. Thank you.
Lynn Davenport.
I I think that we need to focus on solutions. I know that we've talked a lot about all of the problems, and I do believe that the solutions are simple. I think the work is hard, but the only way for us to get to that point is if we are honest about what is really happening. And I think sweeping it under the rug, as I mentioned before, isn't doing us any favors. I know that the best solutions come from those who are closest to the issues and to the problems, and even to the students. And so that is that's the faculty, and they'll tell you exactly what needs to happen. And that same thing happens in K-12, is that the teachers, I mean, you see the mass exodus. Well, ask them what they want. They'll tell you what they need. I host a podcast called Social Impact, and we always end with solutions. We talk about K-12 issues and higher ed issues, always end with solutions. And I think with this existing board, you're not going to find the solutions. I think we're going to have to turn it over. We're going to have to get new trustees in those seats. And if you look, Dallas Morning News endorsed my opponent, the incumbent, and in the District 2 race, they endorsed the incumbent. They're not listening, and it's unfortunate that there's a very strong possibility that if you all don't get out there and get people to vote for either Dr. Garcia or me and Gene Robinson, then we're going to have more of the same. I think this is imperative that we get out the vote to turn over this board, even if it's just 2 seats. It's a start, and at least it will draw awareness, and there will be people not accepting the status quo, but the status questioned. Where are we going as a college? And I think we need to move forward with honest conversations, be real, and no longer let the Dallas Morning News and the media protect what is happening here. This is very important for the future of Dallas. So, I mean, this is, we've only got, early voting starts Monday, and then the election's May 7th.
Thank you. Next, we have Paul Mayer.
I get asked on a pretty regular basis, why in the world would you want to do something like this at a time like this? And the answer is pretty simple to me. For my whole career in this community, I've seen what the college has done. I've seen the lives that it's changed. I've seen whole groups of people who are going to get laid off who went into a skills development course, got their skills increased, got better pay, and moved up. I've seen students that had never thought about college going into our FAME program that are now taking pre-engineering classes. I've seen the lives that are being changed, and I believe strongly that that's exactly what needs to continue. Is there disruption? Is there frustration? Is there anger? Is there lack of trust across the board? Absolutely. But that's going forward. We're going to fix that. We have to, because if not, the economy of this community is going to collapse, and it's not going to collapse. We're going to make it work. I've seen it work, and I absolutely believe that it'll work going forward. It's what I get up wanting to do every day. It's what drives me. I'm way past the time when people were supposed to be retired. My color of my hair would say that, Paul, why are you still doing this? The last time I was at a forum, I said, Kinky Friedman quote, "Find what you like and do it till it kills you." Well, I'm going to do this till it kills me.
Thank you. Eugene Robinson.
Well, I guess I've made my views pretty clear, so I don't need to go over that. I just want to point out something to you all that I was preaching for many, many years to the Professional Support Association. Unfortunately, it kind of fell on deaf ears with them. I hope you all are more attentive now. You have a unique opportunity here in the Dallas County Community College District. All right, this is not a university. You're not managed by a board of regents that's appointed by the governor due to their political favors or connections. You have an opportunity to vote your leaders in, and you need to take advantage of that. Don't be complacent. Don't be lazy. Get people that are. They don't necessarily have to believe what you believe politically, but at least run people that believe in education, okay, and not money spending. That would be a real big start. Get people to run in each and every one of these races every single time. Pass that tradition and that knowledge on to your future instructors that come along. Your retirees, get involved in it, and you have the ability to change things in this district, and I really encourage you to take it on May the 7th. This is your opportunity. Get out and do it and tell your friends, your colleagues, that it's time to start taking that back and get the orientation of this district back into education.
Thank you. And finally, Phil Ritter.
Well, first, I'd like to thank the many faculty across the Dallas College system, for your input, because, the input I've heard from you in my first 6 years as trustee has really helped shape my thinking and the decisions that I have to make as a trustee. And I would say keep it coming, because I really do want to hear from you and continue to hear from you, because you're amongst the most important stakeholders of this enterprise. I re-invite you, into the Dallas College endeavor. I mean, this has been going on for 54 years in our college, and it's been one of the most significant agents of change, not just for our economy, not just for our region, but for the lives of individual students. There's a lot of change ahead. Nobody's pretending that Dallas College has been perfectly executed up to this point, or even that we're more than halfway done with it. We have a lot of work to do together. And faculty, you are amongst the most important people that need to be a part of that work. You are a part of that work and have been so far. And please stay with us, let us hear from you, and let's do the best thing for our students. Thank you.
All right, thank you. As a reminder, early voting for Dallas County residents begins this Monday, April 25th, and runs every day through Tuesday, May 2nd. You can vote early at any Dallas County polling location, including Brookhaven and all the other Dallas College campuses. Please note that voting hours vary on some days. Visit Dallas County early voting website for more information on location, sites, and time. Election day is Saturday, May 7th, 2020. Citizens may vote at any voting site around Dallas County, including all 7 Dallas College campuses, as well as their home precinct from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. Thank you very much for attending our Dallas College Faculty Association Candidate Forum. I do also want to thank Wade Hyde for coordinating all of this and being the backbone of this event. This concludes this portion of the events, but we encourage you to join us in the lobby for reception, where you can meet all the candidates. Good night.